It's the Thank God Friday edition of your Frontier Opening Bell. It's been a very interesting week, as it were, as we dovetail the end of June into the new month. And the market's pretty stable across a number of Frontier African markets. But let's begin to summarize the week for you. It's been quite a very stellar week as far as the Nairobi stock market is concerned. Yesterday, Thursday, the NSE All-Share Index crossed a new threshold of 160 on the All-Share Index, up by roaring 1.44%. Again, quite a couple of news out of the listed companies and the exchange itself boosted the performance of the biggest equities market in East Africa. But let's just assure you where we were yesterday. The Nigerian market continued to on that upward trajectory since the 2nd of July, up 0.53% on Thursday. The market gained 0.50% on Wednesday. The banking sector came back strongly, 1.3% on Thursday. Insurance bigger by 2.8%. Oil and gas added about 0.75%. I'm going to highlight GTCO for you. That's the parent company of Guaranty Trust Bank. That's the bank that says, the holding company that says it's looking to is selling equities worth about $100 million in the international market. The book building started Wednesday. That closed yesterday. We're going to get results from the London Stock Exchange. The idea is to list on the London Stock Exchange main board and delist the previously listed GDR, Global Depository Receipts of GTCO. So this is going to prove as a new horizon for GTCO, as it were, as the company looks to meet the regulatory deadline of end of March 2026 for recapitalization. So quite very interesting time. Access Core shares also actively traded in the banking sector on Thursday. Let's get out of the Nigerian market. Look at the BRVM, made a U-turn, a big one, about 0.75% to 308.28. A bit of a very choppy sessions towards the end of the month and to the first one or two sessions in July. The Egyptian market was closed Thursday. And then you've got the GSE. That's the South African market, up by 0.34%. So those are the market numbers as far as Thursday was concerned. But let me take it further and checking through some of the headlines across the continent. Again, starting as always with East Africa with Madaraka Express. There's a freight company reporting 1.3 billion shillings in revenue in the first quarter, and cargo freight up by 39.7%. Quite good business period for the first quarter, January to March, for this company in Kenya. In Kenya's first quarter, 2025 GDP holds steady, 4.9% year on year. Tanzania's central bank decided to cut interest rate by 0.25% to 5.75% on Thursday as inflation holds it steady in President Samia Suluhu Hassan's economy. In the meantime, the EFDB has backed Awash Bank of Ethiopia with about $50 million guarantee to boost Ethiopia's trade flows. Remember, Awash Bank reported this week that is pre-tax profit for 2024-2025 full year period was about 22 billion local currency. That's the Ethiopian bearer. And finally, Kenya Airways, congratulations, launching another window of direct flights between Nairobi and Gatwick airports. That's after, of course, has had a foothold in Heathrow. Now it's going to the second biggest airport in London, and that's Gatwick Airport. Thank you. Congratulations, Kenya Airways. Let's get more of such positive news coming. Let's get on to West Africa. And I mentioned GTCO shares up by roughly about 3.4% on Thursday on the news of his offering on the international market and plans to list on the main board of the London Stock Exchange. In the meantime, Sierra Leone, RC Bank is looking to step into Liberia and next door and expand its banking operations. In Ghana, oil and gas sector facing about $20 billion annual losses because of inaccuracies in the metering of its crude oil export. And that's a problem similar to Nigeria, which is now being tried to be resolved by ensuring that you use technology to ensure that metering of oil flows and exports onto those cargoes are very accurate to prevent revenue shortfall. And then Ghana has also completed $349.5 million Eurobond payments, $1.17 billion in total debt. That's part of the ratcheting up and rejigging things, as it were, the fiscal space in Ghana under the new president, Dr. John Mahama. Let's start looking to the Southern African region. Yesterday, bad news, not so good news, as it were, as Zimbabwe suffered a nationwide blackout at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Zimbabwean time. The agency in terms of electricity services that's been worked out to bring electricity back. We're trying to see the latest on that between now and the rest of the weekend. So that was due, of course, the blackout was reportedly due to system failure. And REIT in South Africa says it's nearing £5.7 billion deal for pension insurance stake, while the World Bank has called Namibia to lower middle income status despite 3.7% GDP economic growth that Namibia posted in 2024. And Glencore, the mining giant, is launching a $1 billion buyback as a Viterra deal comes to a close. In Zimbabwe, the gold exports hit a record $368 million in the month of May, and that's taking Zimbabwe's total inflow from gold exports to about $1.4 billion since we started the new year, 2025. Gold prices been really steady since the year started, about around $3,000 an ounce. And Citco, listed on Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, reporting full year 2025 cash dividend of 91 US cents, despite a decline in operating profit, pre-tax profit, and net profit of about 17.5 million US dollars. Headline figure revenue came in a decent 93% upside. That's about 71.2 million US dollars. So to summarize, in North Africa, Chinese automaker saw it as a debut in Libya, and that's expanding its foothold in Africa. It's looking for a bold vision for Africa's automobile market. In Morocco, the OCP, listed on the exchange, Nutricops is supplying 1.1 million tons of fertilizers to Bangladesh, while avocado exports from Morocco to Canada has reached a record high of 3.7 million US dollars. And finally, MasterCard says it's unveiling a smart fraud shield in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, which is kicking off a card security overhaul from Egypt, starting that from North Africa. Those are your headlines this Friday as we head into the weekend.